Welcome to a Community Partners interview, where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Lilly Cereghini, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Sherry Nassrin, the Clinical Supervisor for PosAbilities. PosAbilities' mission is to assist persons with developmental disabilities to lead meaningful and healthy lives by partnering with the community to provide a comprehensive range of person-centered services for individuals and the families who care for them. They are committed to building an inclusive community characterized by diversity, hospitality, belonging, and respect, where all partners are welcomed and valued for who they are and for the contributions they make. Thank you for joining us today, Sherry.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sherry, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to work at PosAbilities?
Absolutely. Before I get started, I just wanted to acknowledge that I'm on the ancestral and unceded territories of the Hunkaneem and Squamish speaking peoples. So I'm situated in Burnaby, which is a city in Vancouver in British Columbia. So thank you again for having me. And yes, my name is Sherry Nassrin and my pronouns are she, her. To answer your question of what inspired me to be in this field and work for PosAbilities and a little bit more about myself, I am a board certified behavior analyst. I'm also a certified sexual health educator. And as you mentioned in my intro, I'm also a clinical supervisor that works at PosAbilities. And within PosAbilities, I'm specifically under the Laurel Support Services branch. So that's where my title of clinical supervisor falls under. And what inspired me to work in this field and then find my way to PosAbilities, I used to live in Ottawa, Ontario. That's where I did my undergrad. And I started working with a 3-year-old boy at the time. He was 3 and he has autism. And I fell in love with the work. I was moved to know more about the field and support more individuals. And I slowly made my way back to my hometown, which is Vancouver. And once I got into Vancouver, I continued my educational studies in the field. And I slowly sort of met PosAbilities through a practicum experience. And through that experience, I got to really understand that PosAbilities is such a lovely organization. It's nonprofit. People really put their heart into what they're doing and really believe in the work that we provide to individuals. And it's just a wonderful work environment. There's so much intersection with the different sectors of our agency. There's a lot of intersection with the people that you're supporting and their families, and there's lots of room for growth personally and to just be involved in what the next steps hold at PosAbilities.
That's excellent. Developmental disabilities seems like a very broad term. Could you help our listeners understand what a developmental disability is and how it might affect someone?
Yeah, so developmental disabilities, I mean, there's many different diagnoses that could fall under developmental disabilities. And I think out of respect, different diagnoses are in their own category. So I respect individuals that want to not be clumped under a certain umbrella term. But within supporting people with developmental disabilities, there could be physical disabilities that fall into that category, intellectual or cognitive disabilities as well, or developmental delays. So at PosAbilities and at Laurel Support Services, we support a lot of individuals that have autism, that have any other intellectual or developmental disability. Some may have ADHD, some may have other diagnoses, such as maybe Fragile X. There's a broad range of individuals that we support who have varying diagnoses as well. And how it affects people's life, again, it depends on the disability that somebody has a diagnosis of, because each one has a different characteristics where they flourish in or where they may need more support. So somebody may require a little bit more support and targeted goals and skill development around social skills, where somebody may need a little bit more support around self regulation, for example, or how to develop more of those perspective taking skills, being able to empathize with somebody. So, again, every disability has its own different characteristics of how it shows up in a person's world. Hope that answers your question a bit.
No, that's perfect for sure. What are the Laurel Behavioral Support Services all about, and how do you help people?
So, Laurel Behavior Support Services, we're a service that's tailored to unique individuals and their support team. We offer behavior consultation services. We use a framework of positive behavior support to facilitate meaningful and positive changes through targeted skills. And we support across the lifespan. So, we'll have children, youth, adults, right? And as I mentioned earlier, people may have a diagnosis of autism, intellectual disability, developmental delays, or a wide variety of diverse abilities. And we really focus on making sure that our supports are individualized, family, and person centered. And at the end of the day, we're hoping with the targeted skills that we're increasing the person's quality of life. We are helping them ensure that they have good and full lives to their fullest abilities. And so when somebody is referred to us, the way that we would support them is spend time to get to know the individual and get to know their support team and try to understand through observations, through assessment questionnaires, to understand what area of growth is required or how can we help them and in what environment. So an example is somebody may want to be more independent in their morning routine. They, whether it's themselves or their family, is voicing that they're often late for school or they have challenges getting to school. So we'll work with everybody to create that independence. Maybe this looks like creating a structured morning routine. Maybe this is creating a checklist that helps the individual stay on task of what they need to be doing. In some instances, we have individuals that really want to build friendship, but they struggle with how to make a friend or maintain a friendship. So we will use our knowledge and skill sets. There's many of us on the team that are also peers certified, which is which is an evidence-based social skills curriculum that we follow. So many of us are trained and certified in that. So we'll use elements of peers to help build on those friendship skills. And then there's also support. Maybe somebody requires support around self-regulation or pre-employment readiness skills, and we'll help through that as well too.
Lynn, I mean, it sounds like there's a very diverse range of clientele and also of what you can provide for them.
That's absolutely true. Every individual is different. Every need of the team looks different. So our support cover a vast variety of areas that we can help a person gain more independence or build their build the skills necessary for the goal that they're trying to achieve.
For sure. Are there any restrictions, though, to the services at Laurel Behavior Support, such as age, disability type, caregivers or family members only, things like that?
Absolutely not. So at Laurel, or even within PosAbilities, there are no restrictions. And as far as I'm aware of, as I mentioned earlier, we support across the lifespan, right? So age is not a factor. Disability is not a factor as well. We support all humans, all individuals across different races, identities, diagnoses, age, whether they have a small support team or a large support team. We believe in inclusivity and collaboration with all team members that want to be involved and that individual voices that they want to have a part of our collaboration.
For sure, for sure. Excellent. Without using any names, can you share a success story with me? What supports were put into place when someone asked for help?
Absolutely. There's lots of wonderful success stories to share, and I think it's important to remember that the smallest step towards development is a success for that individual or their support team. For some people, it may take longer to get to the end goal because maybe there's many little steps that need to be taught in between, or and for some, the end goal is a lot shorter. But every step that a team puts in effort to be getting into that direction is a huge success for everybody all around. And it's not always easy also because there's many factors going on in a person's life as well too. Many other appointments, for example, maybe they have a busy lifestyle or after school lifestyle, or their support team is also busy too. So I personally admire every step that a person is trying to make because I understand that it takes a lot of time and commitment. And so some success stories include, we've had a youth having challenges getting ready to go to school. They've missed a lot of school in the year. And so we've worked with the support team at the school and at home in terms of how can we help this individual get to school. And so through assessment, through interviewing, we're able to determine what is the factor that you're not interested in going to school, or what are the factors that are making it difficult to wake up in the morning. And so through that assessment, we've been able to make adjustments such as putting in together a routine for the evening. So when do we start our bedtime routine? What time do we shut off the TV? And how can we fall asleep? And then in the morning, we've had schools such as their education assistants support us. So some will come to the home and help the individual leave leave their home to get to school on time. And that becomes a help for some families because they may be busy themselves in the morning getting their other children ready, or they're getting ready for school. So having that external support from a school is really helpful. And so that's one example where then the individual has started to attend school, and we were able to make adaptations within the school through the support of collaborating with the school team as well and this individual. So how can we make coming to school more engaging? Can we embed more breaks? Can we embed more preferred activities throughout? And or can we, if it's sunny, is it okay if we leave the school grounds and say walk to a nearby corner store, which is the individual's preferred place to go to? So that's one example. Another example was when we were teaching social skills to certain individuals. So the request is they want to be more included. But one of the challenges is when they were included in playing games and say they lost the game, they were having a harder time self-regulating. So with the support team and the individual, we focused on building a toolbox of self-regulation strategies, practicing how do we apply good sportsmanship. So this may look like playing a game and creating opportunities where one person loses so that we're demonstrating what good sportsmanship looks like. And then providing a lot of praise for a great job handling that. It was not easy losing, but you handled it so well, makes me want to play another game with you. Or next time I want to try this game with you instead. So we show that through skills, being able to self regulate and demonstrate good sportsmanship opens more opportunities to being included, to building stronger friendship.
Absolutely. I mean, one very critical element of the lives of people with disabilities can be the feeling of isolation if you don't know how or haven't been given the tools to self regulate or to do the tasks that get you out of the house in the first place. Then it's going to be very difficult for you to have a social life or an educational life or a working life.
And we saw that in during COVID, right? A lot of people's social opportunities were limited. A lot of community inclusion programs had closed down due to regulations during COVID, right? And so you're absolutely right. That feeling of loneliness and maintaining friendships is challenging. And then when you add additional factors that really hinder and a person is faced with feeling that loneliness, it's a lot very challenging. So that's why it's important throughout that we target and we build on these skills. So should there ever be anything that somebody has a way to connect with someone and they have at least one friend in their circle that they can talk to, one trusted person that they can hang out with.
For sure. What is the one thing you see happening over and over again to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be, and how do you think we put a stop to it?
That's a good question. I don't know if I see or if I can constantly think of one thing that happens over and over again, but what I see that's important is to really be teaching self advocacy skills. As a society, we've come a long way when it comes to inclusion, and we still have a long way to go, whether it's in school or in the work environment, um, whether it's creating more programs that are accessible for all, but teaching individuals to self advocate for what they need, and teaching individuals how to recognize safety and unsafe situation, people, or touch around them, I believe is really important as a foundation to ensure that everybody is learning along the way or developing that skill along the way.
Absolutely. That can be a systemic issue, and it is a systemic issue. You've seen this from like very early disability studies theory up to now that because our bodies are perceived as vulnerable, it's that we are perceived as having less defense against these systemic problems and even the violation of our own bodies.
And I think for that reason, I mean, society from a societal perspective, there definitely needs to be more training out there to everybody. In the sense, for example, law enforcement should have training of not only just recognizing mental health, but how do you recognize an individual with a disability and how do you approach somebody, right? I think employment, all employment companies should have this continued knowledge provided to them and training if they already do not have that, right? So again, what does inclusivity look like and how do you be respectful to the individuals that are working for you regardless of have a disability or not, right? And I think also for again for the individuals that we support or that we know of that are in that disability, the community is to again to self advocate and really recognize ownership of your voice and your body, whether somebody has uses communicates verbally or communicates non-verbally through gestures or signs. People around should be recognizing what are these universal signs. uh yes, no, come close, don't come close.
Absolutely. Getting on an easier topic, though, I saw on your website that you have your own podcast for the organization. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I can do my best. So that's definitely with the social engagement, community communication side of the team. Long time ago, myself and some of my colleagues were interviewed on the podcast around our sexual health topic. But to be honest, I don't know how active the podcast is at the moment. I'm so immersed in Laurel. Um, so it could be that's why I'm not fully aware of everything that's happening in the agency. What's lovely about this connection is that it opens the door for a future partnership, right? Or continued partnership. There's a lot of people in our agency with different skill set, different knowledge, just because they're supporting under different services that we offer, whether it's home share, employment, community inclusion, or it's or they're supporting under Explore, which helps a person really explore their strengths and interests and puts them on the path towards employment. Everybody has something to share, and I think it would be great if people have an opportunity to be interviewed.
Absolutely. So, what is the one thing that everyone needs to know about Laurel Support Services?
I think the biggest thing that everybody should know about Laurel Support Services is that we really focus on family and person centered practices, and everything is individualized. That's what's really important, and that we take pride in making sure that the individual is included in all our meetings, whether it's from if they're a young child or if they're well into their adulthood, that we seek their consent to be for us to have the meeting. We know that they can withdraw their consent anytime if they don't want to be in the meeting or they want us to stop the meeting. And making sure that we include the people that they feel is valuable to them in the meetings.
If listeners are looking for more information about you, how can they reach out to you?
They can definitely go to our website, so laurelbc.ca. They can also go to our PosAbilities website as well too, which is PosAbilities.ca. So
Perfect.
on our website, we'll have there'll be a contact us button. So people can email us or they can call us and they can get further information. We support individuals all across British Columbia. Certain programs are only to certain I should say like cities within British Columbia, and some of our programs are across all of BC.
Nice. Nice. Excellent. I mean, BC is a really big province, so the more services, the better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would say that our behavior support reaches across all of BC. So, and we also, being connected with us or being even just on our mailing list for Laurel, we run a lot of groups, and sometimes they're in person, sometimes they're online, and our groups would focus on social skills. So we'll have a peers group for teens. We'll have a peers group for young adults, which focuses again on social skills and maintaining friendships and building friendships. So we run those groups between the ages of 13 to 18. And then we have another group that would be 19 and older. Oh, and then also being a part of our mailing list, you'll be able to know if we're having a sexual health group coming up as well too. So we do try to offer as much as we can in person as well as virtually so that it's more accessible to everybody.
Absolutely. I do find the online, particularly for myself, to be more accessible, unless I'm doing classes.
Yeah, sometimes
Not a fan of online.
and sometimes it's hard to do an online school. Listening to a lecture for 3 hours can be hard to sit through for sure. I've been there myself.
Ugh, brutal.
I agree with you. And it's nice to have in-person classes because it gives you that social connection and just to see people. But I also understand the importance the of providing the ability due to accessibility to have online classes as well too, since people may work or may not may have a harder time coming out of their home or maybe being able to transport to wherever the class could be.
Mhm. I'm nodding along with you here because absolutely, I hear all of these points. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Sherry.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to get to know me and get to know our services. And I hope that other individuals in our agency can also be interviewed as well too at some point. And we have a lot of lovely self advocates that I'm sure they would like to be interviewed too.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. You've been listening to a Community Partners interview. I'm your host, Lilly Cereghini. And remember, folks, stick together because we are all in this together.